Picture this: 2 cars, 1 season, total domination. The Dodge Daytona and Plymouth Superbird were so fast, so untouchable, that NASCAR officials had to step in and rewrite the rule book. They weren't just beating the competition, they were breaking the sport itself. And NASCAR said, "This has to end." Today we're diving into the legendary story of American engineering pushed to its absolute limits, and the dramatic moment when speed became too much to handle. We're talking about a time when American muscle cars weren't just fast. They were so fast, they broke the sport of NASCAR itself. This is the story of engineering pushed so far beyond the limits that an entire sport had to rewrite its rulebook. But before we dive into this incredible story, let me ask you something. What do you think it takes to build a car so dominant that an entire racing organization has to change the rules just to stop you? Keep that question in mind, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how 2 American manufacturers created machines that were literally too good at what they did. And make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we've got some absolutely mind-blowing automotive content coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's travel back to 1969. Nixon is president, man is about to walk on the moon, and American muscle cars are in their absolute golden age. But while Ford, Chevy, and others are building fast cars for the street, something different is happening in the boardrooms of Chrysler Corporation. NASCAR in 1969 was becoming big business. Really big business. Television coverage was expanding, sponsorship money was flowing in, and winning on Sunday was literally selling cars on Monday. The phrase "win on Sunday, sell on Monday" wasn't just marketing speak, it was gospel truth. But Chrysler had a problem, a big problem. Their cars were fast, sure, but they weren't winning consistently. Ford was dominating with their Torino, and something had to change. What happened next would forever alter the landscape of American motorsports. In a conference room in Highland Park, Michigan, Chrysler executives made a decision that would create automotive legend. They weren't just going to build a faster car. They were going to build a car so advanced, so aerodynamically perfect, that it would make everything else on the track look like it was standing still. Enter the 1969 Dodge Daytona, the car that started it all. But this wasn't just another muscle car with a big engine. Oh no, this was something entirely different. Look at this machine. That massive nose cone stretching 18 inches beyond the front of the car. That towering rear wing standing nearly 3 feet high. To most people, it looked like something from outer space. But to aerodynamics engineers, it looked like victory. Here's what made the Daytona so special. That nose cone wasn't just for show. It cut through the air like a knife, reducing drag by a massive amount. And that wing? It wasn't there to look cool. It was there to keep the car planted on the track at speeds that would make other cars literally take flight. But here's where the story gets personal. The man behind this incredible machine was an aerodynamics engineer named John Pointer. And for John, this wasn't just about building a fast car. This was about proving that American engineering could compete with anything in the world. John Pointer. We knew we were building something special, but we had no idea we were building something that would change racing forever. The results were immediate and devastating. The Daytona didn't just win races, it obliterated the competition. At Talladega in 1969, the Daytona became the first NASCAR car to officially break the 200 miles per hour barrier in qualifying. 200 miles per hour in 1969. To put that in perspective, that's a speed that would still be competitive in NASCAR today, more than 50 years later. But Chrysler wasn't done. Oh no, they were just getting started. For 1970, Plymouth wanted their own piece of the action. And what they created was even more extreme. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the 1970 Plymouth Superbird. If the Daytona was impressive, the Superbird was absolutely otherworldly. Same basic formula, but refined, perfected, and made even more aerodynamically efficient. And driving this beast was a man who would become a legend, Richard Petty. Now here's the thing about Petty. He was already a NASCAR superstar, but he'd been struggling with his Plymouth equipment. Ford had been offering him big money to switch teams. Chrysler was desperate to keep him. The Superbird wasn't just Plymouth's answer to the Daytona, It was their desperate plea to keep the king of NASCAR in their camp. And it worked. Boy, did it work. What happened in 1970 wasn't just domination. It was complete and total annihilation of the competition. The Superbird and Daytona didn't just win races, they made every other car on the track look obsolete. In 1970, these winged warriors won 38 out of 48 NASCAR races. Let me repeat that. They won nearly 80% of all NASCAR races that season. Ford, Chevy, and every other manufacturer were left in the dust, literally and figuratively. But here's where the story takes a dark turn. Success. This overwhelming doesn't just impress people, it terrifies them. Behind closed doors, NASCAR officials were having heated discussions. Television ratings were actually starting to decline. Why? Because races had become predictable. Fans knew that barring a mechanical failure or a crash, a winged car was going to win. The sport was losing its competitive balance, and that was threatening the very existence of NASCAR as entertainment. NASCAR official, recreated. We had to do something. The sport was becoming a one-horse race, and that's not what fans wanted to see. Can you imagine how the drivers of these incredible machines must have felt? They'd achieved the ultimate goal. They'd built cars so perfect that they were virtually unbeatable. But instead of celebration, they were facing the possibility that their very success might destroy the sport they loved. And then came the announcement that would change everything. For the 1971 season, NASCAR dropped a bombshell that would effectively kill the winged warriors. New rules. Any car with aerodynamic aids, like the nose cone and wing of the Superbird and Daytona, would be limited to a maximum engine size of 305 cubic inches, down from the standard 426. Let me put this in perspective. This wasn't just a rule change. This was a targeted assassination of the winged cars. Going from a 426 cubic inch engine to a 305 was like asking a professional athlete to compete with one leg tied behind their back. Richard Petty, recreated. They basically told us we could keep our cars, but they had to run with engines that made them uncompetitive. It was heartbreaking. The message was crystal clear. You can be fast, or you can be aerodynamic, but you can't be both. NASCAR had effectively banned the cars that were too good at racing. And just like that, after dominating for barely 2 seasons, the era of the winged warriors was over. The 1970 season would be their final hurrah, their last moment of glory before being relegated to automotive history. But here's the thing about legendary cars. They don't just disappear. The impact of the Superbird and Daytona extended far beyond NASCAR. Every modern car you see today with aerodynamic design owes something to these pioneering machines. The lessons learned from the winged cars about airflow, downforce, and high-speed stability became the foundation for automotive aerodynamics as we know it. And in terms of collectability, these cars became some of the most sought-after muscle cars in history. A pristine Superbird today can sell for over $500,000. The same car that NASCAR tried to ban has become one of the most valuable American muscle cars ever built. But perhaps most importantly, these cars prove something profound about American engineering. When given the freedom to innovate, American manufacturers could create machines that didn't just compete with the world's best. They could dominate so completely that the rules had to be changed to stop them. Think about that for a moment. These cars were so good at what they were designed to do that they broke the sport they were built for. That's not just engineering excellence. That's engineering that was too perfect for its own good. So there you have it, the incredible story of the American muscle cars that were too fast for NASCAR. The 1970 Plymouth Superbird and 1969 Dodge Daytona proved that sometimes being too good at something can be its own kind of problem. These weren't just cars, they were statements. Statements that American engineering could push the boundaries of what was possible, even if those boundaries had to be redrawn to keep things fair. What's up, automotive legends? What do you think? Should NASCAR have let these incredible machines continue to dominate, or were they right to level the playing field? If you love stories about cars that rewrote history, smash that like button, because this story is absolutely insane. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing from you. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into automotive history, you're going to love what's coming next week. we're covering another legendary car that pushed the limits so far that, well, I won't spoil the surprise. Just make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Until next time, keep the rubber side down, and remember, sometimes the most legendary machines are the ones that were too legendary for their own good.